Hi everyone, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hijab Upworkwali and I'm the student of Rehan School Kodani campus. So today's we have the some special guest whose name is Paul Macfarlane. So let's go and talk to him and talk to him live journey. So hello sir, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day and a beautiful night now, and I'm looking forward to having a very fascinating and happy discussion with you.
Okay sir. So first of all, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Uh, I'm called Paul Macfarlane, and what I do in this world is I do business strategy. That means pointing a business or brand in the most advantageous direction from the start. Very important, and creativity is a part of that. And I also provide branding, highly creative, unignorable, wonderful advertising to help the strategy take life in the world. So worthy businesses grow and prosper and the world becomes happier.
Thank you so much for your introduction. So, my first question from you, why do you call yourself a meditating nobody despite being a business genius?
Because I can be both. A business genius means that the gift that I was given at birth and in this life, I let it out to play with confidence and happiness. And that is the nature of genius. Everyone has genius. And whatever that thing that is inside you, if you can let it out and really express it freely, that is the nature of genius, I believe. So I know those skills make me really, really valuable in the world. But as a human being, who I am is not this body, it's the consciousness that lives in this body. And so meditation is very important for me to ground me and help me do what I do. And when I am meditating, I am nobody. I am a nobody and I am everything at the same time. And both can be at the same time. My meditation that helps me be a meditating nobody enhances me being a business and a branding genius, but not the other way around.
Thank you so much for your answer. So, my another
Hmm?
question from you, what is the very first thing you notice when a brand is broken?
Oh, yes. See, when you say a brand is broken, that means it is an established brand that is out there in the world and it used to be successful and now is broken. And there are many, many, many just like that. The first thing I notice always is there was something in the beginning of that business, the beginning of that brand that made them successful that they have forgotten or put aside. And one of the biggest mistakes brands do, they forget what made them a success and they change it completely. If you know what made you a success in the first place, there's always a way to keep expressing that in life the same way, but keeping it fresh. And what I can do with any company is say, look, this is why you're in trouble now. Let's go back to what you did in the beginning and find something really beautiful and make it fresh, and we'll give you success again. That's the first thing I notice.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer.
Mhm.
So, how do you balance creativity with strategy when solving complex problems?
Okay, creativity and strategy don't need to be balanced, they need to be integrated. In other words, when you think of strategy, business strategy, what should a business do? Where should it go? How should you point it? Creativity needs to be part of that process. And when you're thinking creatively for a brand, you should have that strategy in mind. It's not even a thing and then a thing and a thing. It needs to go like this. And for me, I do business strategy at the same time I'm doing branding, while I'm writing, while I'm designing, all in the same moment.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. So, what does humility look like in the world
Hmm.
of branding?
It is very rare. That's what it looks like. It looks like almost nothing because most brands don't understand or value humility. Now, humility is predominantly a human quality. I could be boastful, I could be proud, but I choose not to be. Humble is showing a respect. And when a business exists to solve a problem for the world by selling products or services, humility can be expressed as always being grateful for the business, not expecting it, but being grateful. And it knows when to be quiet. There are businesses that I say smell like revenue. They're always trying to suck the money from you. And humility is to realize that we have a business and we have to earn your business. We have to earn your interest. We have to earn your attention. We have to earn your love for us. And that requires a level of humility that most businesses don't do. Established businesses can think they don't need that anymore, and a startup doesn't understand who they are enough to understand humility. But I talk about humility going along with honesty. To be truly honest is saying, we are not the best in the world, but we're the best in the world as far as we know. That's an element of humility. And the world would love it if more brands were humble.
Thank you so much for your answer. And my another question from you. Can you share a moment where silence gave you the biggest idea?
Mm. The biggest ideas always come from silence, but only I know that because when I'm brainstorming with a client or with another person, it may seem like a very busy conversation, but something is always happening privately inside my mind in a very quiet, silent place where all these stimuli are bouncing around. And somewhere in that meditating observer of all that, something happens. So, in a very busy brainstorm, there's still a silent space where the ideas happen. And yes, there are times when I'm thinking about something, but the silence is so important. So, I don't actively try to have an idea. I have to not try to have an idea and let it happen. And it just keeps coming and happens and happens. But silence means many things. It's the absence of sound, but it's also a blank sheet, the tabula rasa, the clean space. And keeping your mind in that space clean is good because when an idea comes and hits it, it's very clear to see. But without silence, music would be noise. You need the space between the notes. And those spaces that are silent is the space where ideas can happen. Ideas are like seeds, they need to happen underground in private. Every idea in the world first happened in someone's mind. The Dutch painter Vincent van Gogh said, I dream my paintings and then I paint my dreams. So all the work that we do is already a copy of the original thought, of the original idea we had in silence.
Thank you so much for your answer. So, what is the one branding myth that needs to die?
That AI is important. AI is a tool, and if you use AI to come up with a great idea, the AI doesn't matter. And if you use AI and you make a really bad idea, the AI doesn't matter. It's like saying, I use this computer, or I use this program, or I use this editing software. Who cares? When the idea is out there in the world, it's wonderful or it isn't. And if you say, I did it with AI, I'll say, great. But it still doesn't matter. It's a case of people don't trust their humanness. And when a technological tool appears, they grab onto it and think this is what's going to save me. And that's a myth. Because even with AI, we are human beings selling to other human beings. And when we forget our humanness, well, we're still humans, and until that changes, that's most important. And the myth that technology can answer it is a big myth. I have a saying that says, data can point, but data can't touch. And that's an expression of what it means to be truly human. And the myth that technology can solve our problems is truly a myth.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. And how does meditation influence your business discussions?
Oh my goodness. The meditation enhances everything. The business decisions that I make happen more fluidly, in a more relaxed way, and quicker, much faster through meditation. Because when you're meditating, it's like a stone that you polish and it becomes more reflective. It becomes, water flows over it faster if it's in the stream. Meditation helps everything in my world, and the business decisions um, will not have anxiety in them. They will not have desperation in them. They will not have ego in them. They will have only something beneficial to the world in a very relaxed, serene, happy manner. Have I ever created something that completely failed but still felt worth it? Yes. Yes. And completely failed needs to be looked at. Failure doesn't mean anything unless you believe it is a failure. It can be a short term obstacle, it could be a temporary condition, but an ultimate failure. I'll tell you about one. There was a car dealership where I did some really amazing, crazy kind of work for, and the people loved it. People spent 65% more time in the dealership than ever before because of the signs and the messages we had there. But it was my fault that I didn't really prepare the middle level team for what would happen. And the middle level people were essential to making the business run. And because I didn't bring them on board, I failed in doing that, and they failed in their work. And the owner of the business decided to sell the dealership. He wanted to get out of the business. He was so upset. But the funny thing was, in the end, the auto dealership that bought that dealership paid 300% higher money for it than they expected because they saw what this brand and work was doing to bring people in. So it failed that my client didn't like it. It failed that the people in the middle level didn't do it. And that created a lack of faith. But it was still enjoyable. It was still worth it. I learned a valuable lesson to make sure that all parts of a business are there. And I also learned the lesson that good work will always get you more work, and good work can get you bigger work. But big work won't necessarily get you better work. So I always do the creative work, always. Mm. Where and what is our heart? Every brand should be asking where their heart is and what is their heart. As human beings, what is the heart of the business and what is the heart of every human being that's working that business, and how can they connect with the heart of the public? Because if you don't think about that question, you're in big trouble. And if you think about the question, you can really succeed. And if you answer the question beautifully, you will be the world's greatest success. Hmm. Well, again, I don't think one's more important than the other, but they're connected. Um, you can have a brand that has no visuality. It could exist only in audio. You could hear it on the radio, and you could hear a story being told or some message that you hear, and you imagine the visual. But many people in my business I don't respect because the first thing they think is important is to design the logo and come up with colors. And I say, no. You figure out what the brand should be, and you make the logo an expression of that brand. The typography should be an expression of that brand. Everything you do should express that brand. And what is a brand? But what you think and feel about a brand when they're not there, because you saw something, you heard something, you watched something that stays with you. And even when that commercial is not running, when you don't hear about that brand, it stays with you. And that is definitely a feeling. And the way a brand looks can create a feeling. The way a brand sounds can create a feeling. How a brand behaves and what its messages can create a feeling. And all these aspects can come together like making a beautiful uh, dinner that has many vegetables and spices all mixed together, can create something together that people will remember and feel very strongly and happy about. From both. It can come from both. There is negative chaos that is destructive, and there's positive chaos that can create. And maybe part of my genius is to know what good chaos is. But even in chaos, like in a hurricane, there is the calm in the center. And chaos, spring, when springtime comes to the world, it is chaos. There are storms and winds and rain and blossoms and blooming and bees and birds all just going crazy, and things are growing, and that creates life. But in calm, anything can grow in a calm space, in an empty space, and a very calm, meditative mind never stresses, never destroys, always feeds, and always blossoms. Yes, a brand can have a soul. Yes, a brand should have a soul. If a brand does not have a soul, it probably should start over. What I mean by that is, without a soul or a heart or a spirit in the business, it's hard for that to translate and to reach all the employees and the public. So, can I give a brand a soul? Yes, I can. I can find a brand that is rather hollow and empty and plants something in it very beautiful that can grow. For instance, I did work for a car dealership in another city where they were doing their business and they were successful, but I found the soul of the employees. And I took that soul of the employees that they were so amazed that I even asked them about this, and we brought that to become the brand. And in 6 months, they went from one location to four. They had churches and social organizations that wanted to partner with them. They had banks that gave them 0% interest loans to expand. When they went out in public with the t-shirts that I designed, people came screaming and crying, running up to them, hugging them, and getting pictures taken with them, because I found the soul that was in the employees, and I made that the company's brand. The biggest branding mistake smart people often make. The problem with smart people is if they think they're smart, then they're no longer humble. If you think you don't have to learn something every day, if you think you already know everything, you might as well get out of the business. Because what made you good in the first place was not knowing, being curious, and creating something fresh that you didn't even understand, that was felt risky. So the mistake that smart people make is when they trust data versus the human condition. If they trust technology or some whiz bang new tool instead of just listening to the way people talk about life and the way people talk about themselves and finding the truth in that and making that your brand. Again, we're human beings selling to other human beings. The businesses that remember that will win. The ones that forget that will be in trouble for a few more years at least. One thing. Anytime I think I know something and I unlearn it, I find out I really don't know, I always grow. The worst thing I can do is say I know something when I have not experienced it. If I've never been to your country, if I've never tasted the food, if I've never listened to the music, if I've never met a family, if I've never smelt the fragrance of the flowers and the trees and the music of the wind and the noise and the clutter of the sound in the cities, how can I claim to know it? So anytime I think I know something and then I truly learn what it is, I unlearn something while I learn something new. And when you live a life and you accumulate all the things that you think are true and facts, and you keep staying curious in life, every day something or someone will show you something that you will unlearn something and learn something that is more true and more beautiful. If someone wanted to think differently, what's the first thing they should stop doing? Well, you have to stop doing what you're already doing. One of the easiest ways I know to explain to people what that means to do something different. You think of an industry or a market category. Oh, and by the way, if you're speaking, your mic is off. I don't hear you. You look at an industry or a business category and you write down all the conventions. All businesses do this, they look like this, they sound like this, they behave like this, and agree. This is what everyone does. Then, if you write the exact opposite of all those things, you'll find something very interesting to make into a brand. And that's really important to understand the nature of what creativity is, taking things that exist and combining them in a fresh new way. And sometimes the way to do that is to stop doing what you're already doing and stop believing what you already believe. Meditate and say, I don't know, and be curious. And that will lead you to something fresh. If you think you know what everything is, you probably won't get as many fresh ideas. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not getting your audio for some reason. Yes, I'm not hearing you for whatever reason. Check your microphone, make sure it's still working. Because I was hearing you, and now I don't hear you anymore. Let's see, audio, iPad microphone, check, and audio, microphone, speaker. Yeah, I'm sorry. For some reason, I'm not hearing you anymore. You can hear me though, I hope. Yeah. So you can type something to me if you want in the chat. No, no. I can see you, and if you can hear me, but I cannot hear you anymore. Let's see. Yeah. Check. Mine's good.